We're going to take a look at some mock drafts. DraftWire has the Browns selecting Jayson Oweh in the 26th pick, edge rusher from Penn State. Again, that's one of those guys that seems to be in that mix. What do you think about him in the likelihood that he's still there at 26?
Yeah, Jason's an interesting prospect right now in terms of we have these pro days really taking off all over the place, and he's a guy that tested freakishly, running 4.4 speed at that position. It's something you don't see often there. But when you turn on the tape and look at his production, you don't see those sack numbers. He didn't have a sack last year. So you see the prospect, you see the potential, but then when you talk about how it applies to the game and what's happening on the field, it didn't happen a year ago. Now that's could be for a lot of reasons. It was a COVID season, really strange year in the Big Ten. You can chalk it up for a lot of stuff. When GMs and scouts in the pro departments look at these guys, they tend to give less rips about their production and their stats as much as they see traits and upside. So I can see why Jayson is being tagged right around where the Browns are picking. It makes a lot of sense. It's a player who could come to Cleveland and not be asked to do a whole lot right away and could develop into possibly a premier pass rusher.
Well, you mentioned the pro days, and we did have a chance to listen in to Oweh on his pro day. He was talking about the things he was working on to get better, to make that production show up on the field.
2020, it was like, it's weird because maybe the production wasn't there, but in terms of just skill-wise, I was way better this past year. So, it just helped me to understand what I have to really hone on. I was focused on just trying to have flashy moves, but now I can really hone in on speed to power, hone in on, timing the hands better, and hone in on, confronting the tackle instead of, trying to run around him. And, that's only going to make my game even better. So I'm really happy that, it was bittersweet that I had, 0 sacks, but I just know that it's going to be crazier once I really know what I need to work on.
Jayson Oweh at his pro day in Penn State, and Ellis, you alluded to it. He ran, I believe it was clocked a 4.39. So that's a defensive end with, we'd take that at the wide receiver position with that kind of speed.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's an interesting soundbite. I love the fact he's talking terminology, describing the ways he's improved and the technique that he's trying to refine. I'll say that when I watch him on tape, I notice a guy who takes some pretty wide angles trying to get to the quarterback because he's a better athlete, because he has the speed to get outside and win. But what I like to see out of the position are guys with more bend who can decrease the surface area between the tackle and themselves, and then use that speed and quickness that Oweh has and get around that way, rather than taking these long angles and that arc, that defensive end arc you hear so much about. There's some other guys in this draft that I think cut down that arc in more impressive ways and get into the tackle sooner without getting caught up in grabbing cloth and caught up in the muck there. So again, an upside pick, but one that if the Browns make, I don't think you can expect a whole lot of year one production.
Yeah, without question. There's a lot of risk involved with drafting a guy that is strictly on potential.